Brews and Banter.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Ron. I was smelling this when you did
What are you
that.
smelling?
My beer.
Your nose is always in something.
Well, this time it just happens to be a beer.
Yeah.
So let's welcome Lindsay.
Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you.
So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and your company?
So I'm Lindsay Mastro, CEO and founder of Conscious HR. We are a small boutique HR fractional agency right out of here in Syracuse, New York, but we serve everywhere in New York. We focus on upstate, but we serve throughout the U.S. also. Mm-hmm. So we help teams and businesses grow, whether you're at your first hire or your 50th hire. So we kind of really focus on the small business arena. That's where kind of I found my passion for business was in small business. I've worked, in the corporate landscape and I've worked for small businesses and really saw the gap as far as HR service is concerned and just doubled down on helping small business because at the end of the day, small business are owned by individual people from the community. We're all just humans and people. And the advice that's out there generally for, human resources as a whole usually is not very applicable for small business. So I'm just kind of a realistic person and I lead everything with consciousness. I'm very into the energy of things and I'm a medium. So a lot of what I do is spiritual on the more personal side, and I actually do spiritual services as well. And since I formed Conscious HR, we've just leaned into providing that service from the conscious lens.
Mm-hmm. So just on a side, spiritually, I wanted to see if you hit record on these cameras.
Everything's recording.
Okay, because I didn't see it, so I didn't know.
I might have knocked the tiny hat off of it.
I didn't want to fuck things up.
But thank you for, I'm glad you
I'll
got
let you
my
know
back.
if there's any ghosts in
Thank
here or
you.
anything. That's cool.
Yeah, so we can get into all that, right? That's like you're kind of like a one-stop shop.
Well, I guess.
And you drink beer.
And I drink beer, sours.
You're prioritizing in small business, and most of businesses in the United States is small business.
Yeah, I think 93% of all business is small
crazy.
business.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. I thought it was like 70 or something.
And small business is considered 500 and less employees, correct?
Well, it depends on what stat you're looking at.
Or that's what IRS says.
Yeah, that's the IRS. Our focus, just to give you an idea, we typically, our normal client is anywhere between 5 and 20 employees. That we have, we have clients with higher amounts, but that's really where we focus and hone in because those are the people that need the help. Mm-hmm. They don't have their own HR department. It's usually the owner or a leader that is wearing the HR hat, as we like to say. So we work directly with those leaders to help them build a better organization, both from the more transactional HR standpoint, but we specifically lead with the strategy. That's the piece that most people don't really think is important. So that's where we lead. That's where it makes us.
So you're not are you part of the company as the HR administrative piece, or are you training people within that company to do that?
So that was actually what I did when I went from a solo practitioner to having an agency. So I work more with the client specifically on the strategy end. And then I have an HR business partner who does the more transactional day-to-day type HR stuff too. So we work in tandem. And as we grow and as we scale, the plan is to have more of me's that are doing the strategy so that we can kind of branch out of New York, spread down the coast, and go from there.
Sure, yeah.
And it's when you're a business owner, when you're wearing too many hats, it's hard to be on top of everything. You're not as efficient in every task because you spread thin.
Yeah. And that's when you run into the issues that we typically, that's when we get a call, right?
After the problem.
I would like to approach it before there's a problem, but nobody wants to listen to me until there's a real problem at hand. Yeah.
How many people do you have on the team?
We have 4 plus me. So I've got an HR business partner. I've got an HR community manager who she leads our HR chat service, which is amazing. And this is a good opportunity for me to talk about that a little bit because I don't think I do a very good job about promoting that. And it's a unique service. It's humans. It's HR professionals that you as a business owner can come into this community. You can ask any HR questions that you have. It's all via chat. Right now we use Slack. So, and then if you do have a very specific employee issue, there's kind of a level up option where you can have one-on-one support, phone support, email support, that kind of stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
And how does that look? How do you engage in that? What's the process?
So it's pretty simple. It's like a, Netflix for HR. It's a subscription service.
So you HR and chill.
Yeah. Those two things, I try to bring the chill in.
That's different service.
There's no chill yet.
Yeah, they're like, we'll bring the chill for you. But usually when you're starting, people are like, freaking out.
Yeah.
And like, we want to eliminate the freak out.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we lead with too, is like, we don't do fear. You'll see that on our website. So much of HR service is a fear-based sale on like, if you don't do X, you will be sued. And again, we're dealing with small business. The chances of you getting sued or receiving a claim are really just dependent on how you're building out your culture, how you're hiring the right people in the first place. That's where like all issues really stem from, is hiring and recruiting the right people.
I work for City Card.
Uh-huh.
And every time my supervisor was like, Roman HR wants to see, I'm like, fuck. What did I do this time?
What was the What was the company?
City Card?
City Card?
City Bank.
Oh, okay. I know what that was. I think it's a City Card. I'm like, what is this? Like
Well, credit card.
Okay.
I worked for City Credit Card.
Just trying to break the language barrier.
Because it's so big.
That'd get me in trouble with HR.
It's a huge, huge company, right? So if it's like, oh, HR wants to talk to you, it's like, okay, well, is that my manager? Is it like the regional HR person?
Well,
is it some stupid form I didn't fill out? Or like, am I in trouble?
The worst one was HR that was listening to my conversation.
Ooh.
And they were in Atlanta. The HR was
so
in
no
Atlanta.
context to the conversation.
So I'm like, what the hell? Like, so I'm showing up in the office and I'm on the phone with them and I can't talk about the details, but
he's under a little thing called an NDA right now.
Yeah, no, it's actually probation or something probably. Like
I don't want them to be like disclosing, company information or operations.
Finance is fine.
It was collections department. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're gonna stop recording. And then
All right, we'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
This is off the record.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like the fear. I was like, oh crap. What did I do?
And HR people hate that. So if you're let me preface, good HR people hate that. And unfortunately, there's just too many people in HR who don't understand the more strategic side of things and how humans are the people that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And like you hear the traditional, let's put the human back in human resources. And then you start listening to that person talk who's saying that, and they're still just talking about the transactional stuff and the paperwork. And I'm like, but what about the humans? Like you said it.
It's more robotic, I suppose, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of rules and regulations that you have to know and abide by, but there's also like a level of risk that has to be taken into consideration. And again, in small business, if you have 10 employees, if you have 15 employees, if you have 20, even if you have 50, like those smaller amount of employee counts, there's a certain level of risk that you're going to assume in making decisions. So those are the kinds of things that we think about and that we lead our clients through. And we're like, hey, these are the rules. These are the regulations. This is what we think you should do. What do you want to do? Like, what is your actual goal here in making this decision? And we help our clients kind of maneuver through that to tell them, this is the rule, this is the regulation, but do you really need to worry about that? If you have an excellent culture and you treat your employees well all the time, the fact that you have not filled out this one form correctly for the past 5 years, like we can fix that, but there's no reason to like freak out and and honestly spend $1 bajillion on some consultant to come in and tell you like you must do this. Like there has to be some type of plan moving forward, and ultimately, how do you want to grow your business, or do you not? Do you want to stay where you're at? So there's a lot of business consideration.
Sure. That's a helpful approach from HR because some people are very particular how they do things, like they're structured. So in their head, if they screw it up, they're panicking.
Yeah.
Because they're not happy with their performance. They beat themselves up. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to kind of have that HR approach, like, don't worry about it. Like, we'll fix it. No big deal.
I love doing it for clients. And again, we are a small business. So it's even like this other level of weirdness and fucked upness when you are a business owner. Like I'm a business owner that provides HR services, yet I have my own team and I'm wearing the HR hat for my HR services team.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So it's like, what's that movie? Like Inception, where it's like level.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, oh, wait. Oh, my God. I have to actually do all those things. Luckily, my team's amazing and they all tell me they love me. So let's hope that.
You guys are all
what they say when they're not recording is different, but.
Yeah. We are our own HR department. And like, hopefully someday we scale and I can be like, okay, we need our own HR department, but I'm still in that same spot that all of our clients are. Like, we do our own HR. And when you're doing it for other people, another example I say is like, who fixes the plumber's leaky toilet? And who heals the healer from like the spiritual lens of things. It's the same idea. It's really easy to lose sight of what you are doing as a business owner when you're out there like servicing and doing the thing. And I think that is, I don't know. My like general opinion is that is actually more difficult for a service business than it is for a product-based business. It's not missing, but I think it's just another level of different. Like you are fully in it and you forget what you have to do for your own team.
I've learned as, small business owner is sometimes you need to step back. So I had a hard time delegating work and stepping away and trusting that the employee will take care of what needs to be done. And I had to accept it that it will not be done at my level or how I want or how I would have done it. And it's okay for them to make that mistake, not necessarily a mistake, but not complete it to my expectation or my level, and then just educate them why you want it a certain way.
Yeah, like you have to be prepared that mistakes will happen. And this is where that like hiring and recruiting conversation comes in. The more you can focus on somebody that has the skills that you want, and I'm actually going to say soft skills more than like the tangible process things. If you can find somebody who's going to provide the same level of service that you're going to provide, you can teach them the process. You can teach them the systems, and you don't have to be some master trainer to be able to do that. On the same token, if you identify as the owner or the person running that team or the leader, insert some boss phrase here. If you are able to find the right people who have the right skill set that you cannot give them, you can teach them the rest of the stuff fairly easily.
Yeah, and I always encourage all employees to contribute to ideas, to progress, efficiency. There are things that I've learned from someone I hired to be a foreman that had years of experience, just kind of wanted to step away from being a business owner. And I learned something from him. So I was like, great, that's what I'm going to use from now on.
Yeah, that's actually some of the best advice that I've received and I give to other people. Like when you're hiring somebody, especially when you're hiring another leader, you want somebody who's going to mimic your favorite leader, whether it's you or somebody else, a coach, a guardian, a parent. I don't think a lot of us have family members that we want to replicate. I don't know. I find myself around those people. But
it helps with the morale too.
Yeah.
In workspace because they feel good about it. They're like, wow, my boss likes my idea.
Yeah.
Or, oh, now we're doing it this way, and I came up with it.
Yeah, and giving them boundaries, too, to understand that, like, I'm very willing to take your idea. Sometimes they're going to be great, and I'm still not going to be able to implement them. So giving them the space to have the conversation, I think, is even more important than ultimately, like, doing what they suggest. As long as you're communicating that to them, those boundaries, those expectations, having that conversation becomes so much easier because they already know kind of what the trajectory could be. And you have to be clear that like, oh, hey, this is a really good idea, but that's going to be in the next 6 months, or like, that's really great. I've tried this before. We can shift it a little bit, but maybe that's 2 years down the road. Or, hey, this is a wonderful idea. Let's start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that's in small business, that could be the case most of the time.
Well, even
this is great. Let's try it.
Real world stuff, just having conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people just don't. I mean, there's kind of, people will jump to conclusions or jump the gun, whatever the case may be, and there's some maybe disconnect. But I don't think people talk enough without arguing.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. Even
like just the process of meeting you guys and coming out, it's like really refreshing.
We're besties now.
Yeah. And you gave me beer. Like, oh, I'm going to hit your mic though. There we go. It's really refreshing when I come across those like-minded people that just like to meet people and talk to people and not really have an agenda. Like, if you're running a business, you're a salesperson. That's just what you do. Yeah. But you were like, hey, what do you got? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just want to chat with you guys and like talk about what we got going on. Like,
and that's just what we do. I mean, but and we talked a little bit beforehand. It's just, it's more organic that way.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you kind of have to sort of, structure in order to get to a point.
Yeah.
It'll just come up.
We have so many random,
at its best.
We have so many random guests, and it could be, talking to somebody about ethanol poisoning and and how bad our country is with it, and then go to
movies and lawyers,
managers.
And,
we can talk about movies.
Music band managers. We had a guy who was salesperson for like trucking business. Like it's just all kinds of stuff.
Well, you have to learn so much just talking to everybody like that.
But we also enjoy inviting local people.
Yeah.
So we joined our Chamber of Commerce here, and we wanted to kind of be part of the community.
Is that how you found it?
That's how I found you guys. Yeah.
And I think being part of the community is give it back to community, right? Like
totally. Yeah.
Talking to everybody, meeting each other, and contributing, helping each other out. And it's like our first steps when we relocated to this spot is to do.
Yeah.
Like HR skills, right?
It really just boils down to like communication and talking to people. Like I said, the compliance stuff is for some reason where the industry as a whole really leans into, because that is the fear-based issue.
For litigious reasons.
Yeah. And it's also, honestly, it's an easier sell. Like if I walked in and was like, hey, you're going to owe $25,000 if you don't do what I say, people, oh my God, okay. But like, that's not going to be a long-term client. And it just doesn't sit well in my soul. Like, I worked for a company that did that. And I was like, I would go in as the service provider and they were in love with me, but they hated the business that I worked for. And I just knew there was something I had to do about it. So like, yes, we're an HR service company. We come in and we become your HR department when you don't have one. But honestly, like I'm in the business of changing the HR industry. That's what Lindsay wants to do. I have an amazing team who does, the hardcore everyday HR work, and we lean into strategy, and we talk about the education of things, and you talk about risk. And so you're educating your clients through that lens. But like I said, most of the time it's like they're only coming to you when they're scared. And I'm like, it shouldn't be the case, but it is. And I want to change it. So
I want to share a short story. So I had IRS audit of my business. And so when I found out,
that's the shit we can't talk about.
They're going to be auditing. No, it's different. No.
It's only been 20 minutes. How many more we got in there?
Stack. So I found out through my CPA that I'm going to be meeting with the IRS agent who is going to be auditing all my books and all that stuff. I don't know if they're random or how they chose, but anyways, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I have everything in order. Like I went through, I put things in Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I have all
it's
this
written down somewhere.
Shit organized. Yeah. No shoe boxes, none of that stuff, right? I have everything scanned. I try to be organized, make my CPA job easy.
Well, you have a CPA, which is like a big first step. There's a lot of people that don't. Yeah.
She's like a lawyer for audits.
Yeah.
She met with me. She was there when the IRS edit came. So she was there. She's like, relax.
Yeah, she's been through it a million times. Yeah.
So the IRS agent shows up. She's very nice. She looks at me. She goes,
wait. So it's you and two women?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And HR was not there.
Yeah. I want to get audited.
HR was not.
Can we get audited? Was there a door closed?
I was going to say, back to the door? Or like, what was the situation?
What the hell's happening here, man?
So when she walked in, first thing she said, she looked at me. She goes, relax. Don't worry about it. Like, everything's going to be okay. She probably could tell how nervous I was.
Yeah.
She's like, my father is a contractor. So I know how the process goes. You don't have to, we'll just go through, we'll check things. If there's corrections that need to be done, we'll get done. You're not in trouble.
Yeah.
So her approach was really nice. Like she automatically knew that I'm probably freaking out.
Yeah. Well, she met you from the empathetic lens. Yeah. And having experience in the industry is just, it's not even helpful. She probably really knows nothing other than just how you're feeling and how this might look moving forward. But it's not like you have to be like a contracting expert to deal with an IRS audit. Yeah.
So she calmed me down and we went through the books and she's, they made the corrections and that was it.
Yeah.
And then she left. Whoa. And then I was looking at my CPA. I'm like, that's it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, whew.
How long was it?
I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
That's a quick one.
This is ultimately your CPA's fault for making these mistakes?
No.
I would blame it.
Well, I don't think there were mistakes.
It was probably just like the DOL, for example. They'll just send out like random letters that just ask you to confirm a few things. And I have helped clients through just filling out that form, because depending on how you're filling it out, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, but they'll look for certain like keywords or how you're answering things that will then trigger the next step. So if you just get that first letter, whether, I call them the alphabet agencies, there's DOL or DOT or IRS, whoever it is, EEOC, those are bad ones, but that means somebody went and did something.
That's his next off-camera topic.
Then the DEC came in.
Like they really are just doing a general sweeping audit. There was probably 70 other contractors in the area who got that same letter, and you just got the next step. They come in, they do the thing, and those auditors. I mean, unless you just get somebody who's like fuck I'm gonna mess up this guy's day. Like that's just not.
That's a power trip.
And there people are out there, but 99% of any auditor you're dealing with, and I say this about business owners too, the quote bad business owners, it's 1% of that. And those are the stories that you hear. Yeah. Unfortunately, squeaky wheel syndrome, but most people are just trying to do the right thing. And you don't know all the rules. You're I have my CPA, they're dealing with the stuff I don't know. Or I have my HR people, they're dealing with the stuff that I don't know. Hopefully they're also informing you along the way. But it's super scary when you sit and you're like, oh my God, what does this mean? What did I do? It's when there's a cop driving behind you, they're not pulling you over. And I'm like, do I have a dead body in my trunk?
But they are running your plate. They're running your plate.
Sitting there with the gun. It's it's scary.
My case was workers' comp payments, and when they were charging me, and I didn't have employees. Yeah. So workers' comp is what triggered, I think, a red flag.
I have a good story about a roofer.
Let's get into it. Yeah.
I mean, it's good to me. I don't know. I had a roofer, and contractors. So my territory when I was with my previous company, it was all North Country. So I live in Syracuse, but the majority of my clients started in Watertown and went all the way up to Malone. So I had a ton of blue collar workers.
Malone's way the fuck away.
Oh yeah, it's a long drive. I mean, I liked it though because I'm weird. I'd just be I'd be 4 hours on the road, meet with a client for an hour, and drive 4 hours back. I'm this is the best of my life.
A lot of Brews and Banter episodes on there.
Yeah. You can go back.
A lot of thought processing.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's actually side story. I found out that I felt my best in life at that point. I realized I was actually meditating for those hours. I didn't know that then, but I was like, man, I feel free.
You just snap out of it. You're like, where am I?
No, I felt great. And I was literally just meditating as I was driving for hours. But anyway, so I had many roofers. One of them came to me after they had an intense audit, and this was an OSHA audit, which is
shit, that's what OSHA is.
Yeah, the percentage of gung-ho auditors in OSHA might be a little bit higher than that's a tough one. But the reason they got in trouble is because on their Facebook they were promoting all of the work they did and showing all the roofs that they worked on and the gutter work and the, oh my gosh, look how great we are. And in many of these pictures, they showed 6 of their dudes up on the roofs And guess what? They were not
strapped.
They were not strapped. No harnesses. And they're coming to be I don't even know why they found us. I'm you need to take down your Facebook immediately. Oh, well, that's how people know. I'm nope, that's how you get in trouble. I'm how many people are coming to you because they found you on Facebook? First, that was a question from a marketing standpoint that they didn't even understand. I'm no one's coming to you because of your Facebook. They're coming through referrals. And if 100%. You're doing a good job, hey, if you're not going to follow the rules, again, this is one of those examples of the risk evaluation. If you're not going to follow the rules, business owner, that's your prerogative. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is extremely high risk. You know it is because now you have a huge, huge fine from OSHA sitting here that might shut down your business. All because you just wanted to be cool on Facebook. Yeah. No, take it down immediately. And they did. And HR, I say all the time, is so much more marketing and PR than it is anything else internal. If you start on the outside with things, and again, most HR providers, service providers or consultants, they don't necessarily know about the marketing stuff or the business accounting or the business acumen. They have it, but they don't look at it through the lens of that one employer, and that's when they get in trouble. And then it's hey, I can come fix this for you, and I can pull this documentation together and help you through this form or through this process, but is it really going to help you in the long term if you don't understand what you did in the first place? And he really was just oh, I didn't even think about it. We were done with the work. He's we just went back up there and took a picture. I'm like, well, okay, but you're still up there. Like,
Right.
OSHA doesn't care whether you're on or off the clock, you know.
They'll also look at the ladders. Like if there's a ladder in the picture, and they'll see how many runs past the edge of the roof. There has to be like 2 feet or whatever. So all those things they look at.
And they love it.
I lived in Boston.
That's right.
I lived in Boston, and they would, if they saw contractors chain linking like the extension cords. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah. When they wrap it up. Like my husband does. Oh. He's not a contractor. Yeah.
They would come through the job site and just cut all the extension cords. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they'll just cut them up and fine you. And
yeah. They're like, see you later.
Yeah. So you talk about people on the power trip.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck your extension cord.
That'll be $10,000 and the cost of 2 new cords. Yeah.
Good thing they don't kick the ladder out and leave you on the roof.
Yeah. It's contracting is its own bear. Like there's again, you're dealing with OSHA, you're dealing with a lot more, and you're dealing just with the people you bring in. There was this huge push to do drug testing for all of our clients. And I'm like, I have roofers and contractors and landscapers and plow guys. Like, if we do across the board drug tests, like they're not going to have any people. Like, this is pre marijuana days, cannabis days. But I was like, that's just not realistic. Yeah. Like, that's not what we're dealing with. You have to know what your business is.
I actually stopped doing roofs because of the cost of insurance. I'm like,
the workers' comp's out of control.
Yeah. Not only workers' comp, but like the insurance on top of that because you're doing roofs.
Yeah.
So you're going up 2 stories. Even if you're a painter.
Your liability.
Yeah. Like all that goes up. So I stopped, but I see so many roofers. I drive around a lot. I'm in real estate as well. And I'm always on the road.
Oh, you gotta go work for OSHA now.
No,
he's got a restraining order or something with them too.
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
I actually haven't even said the word
So
yet.
your business, you help small business start off. Are you part of a long-term plan with them where you stay on?
We have clients who do stay on with us for a long time. We have a couple different models because people are at all different circumstances. We've got Eyes Open. That's that chat where it's kind of like, I don't have a lot going on, but I do have questions once in a while, and I want to know that somebody, a human, is there to answer these questions. And we have a short but pretty easy onboarding process with that so that we know what your business is. We know how many employees you have. We know who your leaders are. We know the general stuff so that we can guide you appropriately, but do it quickly. So that's kind of like the easy, HR button. And then we have our full retainer clients. We call that our peopling partnership. So that is truly like we come in and we solve any of the immediate issues, if there are any, usually there are. And then we put together an entire HR action plan that spans about 12 months. Okay. So we're always identifying what's going to actually help you moving down the line according to your mission, your vision, your goals, and making sure that your team and your staff is aligned with those. That's another huge issue. Most people don't know what it takes to actually be able to provide what they're trying to do. So those are the clients that stay on with us for a long time. Some of them will come on, 4 months later, they're like, I think I'm good. And then they bounce. And then a year later, something happens because they didn't follow through. And they're like, uh-oh. So the hope is that people come on, they stay with us, and that we truly stick with them. And that's where we need to grow and scale so that we can have that longevity with our clients and provide it again and again and again in different areas.
Companies that do leave, do they have access to that subscription chat service?
Companies who do leave?
Like the companies who got your services, you said, for 4 months, then they leave.
Oh, so it's like a kind of step up, step down situation. Okay. So you can go on to any level of service that you want at any point. And our retainer clients, those longer term, it's on usually a 6-month contract. Beyond that, we'll move to a month to month. Because honestly, if you have the plan and you stick to the plan, there's at that point, after about 6 months where we're like hard in the business and doing the thing in a small business, often it does become that like, I only have a question when I have a question, and I don't need you embedded in my business every single day. So there's kind of like a natural trail off where it's like, we become the HR insurance. Where
you're on call or something. Yeah, right.
We do not do individual consultations, and we do that very specifically. If you're doing, like, if I don't know who you are and you call me and you say, I have to terminate somebody, what do I do?
Right. So it's not a la carte.
No, I can tell you what documentation you need in the state of New York or the state of California is a whole other deal. But, insert a state here.
We don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about California.
Yeah. we just.
That's a different country.
I think they're going to get annexed or something. Newsom's working on it. I don't know.
Denmark's buying them.
Yeah. Or they're, on fire. I don't know. But Florida will be underwater. It's, just the world's ending. No big deal. But yeah, like I can tell you, if you want to pay me $300 an hour to tell you what paperwork you'll need, that's fine. Again, doesn't sit well in my soul, but like it's not going to be effective. And P.S., you can go Google it. You can go on ChatGPT. You can get those answers today. Mm-hmm. What you can't get answers to is, hey, by the way, the person I'm terminating happens to be my highest producing sales rep. And oh, by the way, it's the son of the owner. Yeah. Like ChatGPT is not going to be able to navigate that situation for you. Right. So that's why it's so important to have the complete background, know the cultural background, know the relationships, know honestly the geography. Like how you treat a contractor in Baldwinsville, it might be completely different from how you treat one in New York City. Like they're different demographics. So like I don't feel right operating that way. And honestly, if you want to, you can go pay somebody else $1 million to have shitty service.
And this is probably what, hopefully what would help you grow is that you have a conscience. You care. Like you care. You're not just taking money because someone wants to give it to you.
Yeah. I've turned down clients for that reason. Like,
but you don't see, where do you see that? Who does that?
And I have plenty of referrals that are great, HR compliance practitioners. It's just not what we do. Mm-hmm. And I believe, maybe foolishly, that that is where the difference is going to be made. Because again, I'm in the business of changing the industry and changing small business. That comes through the lens of HR services, but you can go to, name any other consultant here to get those quick answers. And honestly, like Google it, you'll be able to get the compliance answer you want. Sure.
But they still have to do work and modify to their.
Well, that's the thing is they
don't want to do the work.
They
don't want to do the work.
Yeah, that's the big part.
So how does it work? I mean, we're talking about all this, and now I know you have a spiritual aspect, and there's some history you have as because you are human,
a ghost whisperer.
Yeah. Well, whatever you want to call it, a beer drinker without the beer, but you're having the sort of things that you might see when you're drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Kind of things. So when you're younger, so how does that pertain to this business? Is it the same, or is it a separate business from what you're?
So I turned off like my reading link just recently because I'm just so busy doing this, and this is more of like a large vision.
I'll tell you, I was telling someone at work today that we were doing this, and I'm pretty certain she got a girl boner because she wants.
She's in the hallway.
No. She wants. She's like, ooh, and she's doing one of these like Montgomery Burns things from Simpsons, and she wants to get a reading, and then she contacted someone else. I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here, but like,
tell her to reach out to me.
Well, if that link is off, she cannot.
I'll just tell her to like email me or something.
Okay, yeah,
I'll get her in. But so it's the same and it's separate. So I'll give you kind of my like mediumship psychic spiel, so you understand kind of the muscles that work.
We like muscles.
Yeah. Really gaining them up here with the beer.
Well, you can't do that when you say muscle. That's
oh, yikes. Whoops, wrong. I should have had it in my hand to do it. Oops. So there's like the psychic spectrum, and all psychic means is the ability to read or understand energy between at least two sources. So every single human is psychic. The question is, how much are you practicing? How much do you want to be? And then it is a spectrum of like, these are all of the individual gifts that you can have on this psychic spectrum. Mediumship is one of those gifts. And mediumship specifically is the ability to communicate with spirit, dead people.
Okay.
Even like communicating with guides or reading past lives or reading tarot. Those are all psychic kind of practices, but mediumship is very specific to dead people, like people who were once on this earth and they no longer are. So the mediumship thing is completely separate from what I do in Conscious HR. But the idea behind leading everything with energy and moving into things with intention and truly aligning yourself with like what your not even goals, like what your soul tells you want to do, it really is so much more simple than we make it. Mm-hmm. It's like, what do you want to do? Answer the question here. And then we go, but I can't because X or
I almost answered. I thought you were like asking. There was a pause. I'm like,
I am a coach. Like I do tend to have those conversations with people. But so like I said, I've known I was a medium since I've known that I could see dead people and talk to dead people since I was a baby, as long as I can remember. But I didn't even know like I was a medium until like my mid-20s. And it literally took another medium to sit me down and force me to read him. And I literally thought I was just making up a story. He was like forcing me. He was like, what do you see? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I see? Don't I have to like, I don't know, snap my fingers? Like, what is the process
There's
here?
a Ouija board or something?
Yeah, no, oh God, I hate Ouija boards. That's a whole other thing. I don't need them. As a medium, I'm like, oh my God, it's so boring. Like, his name's Steve. It's 1984. Like, he died in a car accident. But it's, like, I don't need the board to tell me. But it like took somebody, it was the validation I needed to understand that what was going on in my head was not mine. I always just thought I had like a really good imagination. And I thought it was like weird and cool that I just knew things. Or I just thought I was like really good at stuff. And I'm like, oh, turns out that wasn't me. So the big thing for me in my spiritual development was understanding the difference of like, what is Lindsay and what is everybody else. And I grew up in a certain circumstance and have a certain level of trauma associated with understanding who Lindsay is. So really the first, like, and this is kind of the case with all spiritual development, it starts with who are you at your core? What are you meant to do here in this life plane while we're in, this meat suit, like stuck here? And
meat suit.
Yeah, I'm like, that's what we are. We are spiritual beings.
Skin bag.
Isn't that what like Lady Gaga wore to the Grammys or something?
Yeah. Oh my God, you're totally right.
Oh, Gaga, right? She wore the meat dress or something?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was probably a statement that I never picked up. Like now that, oh my gosh.
I'm kind of hungry, by the way.
I've got a strip steak waiting at home.
Put her under the heat lamp.
Yeah. I'm just going to warm her up for a little bit. Now we're into cannibalism. I don't know how we took this far.
Either or.
It's gross. But yeah, so it's so much of your spiritual development is just figuring out like, what is it you want to do? And so it took a medium sitting down and forcing me. And what happened was I started describing this person. I literally thought I was making up a story. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. I'm also very impatient. And I'm like, oh, come on, what are we doing here? I'm just making this up. He literally lifts up a picture and it was the guy I was describing. Turns out it was his dad.
Oh,
and I was like, literally, like my hands flew out of my mouth. I was just floored.
Yeah.
And it constantly, even still in readings, it's always the validation from other people, because if you're a good and decent human that's also a medium, really what you constantly need is the validation from people to be like, oh, I wasn't making that up. Most people get worried about mediums because they're like, oh, they're, swindlers and they're like, no, if you're talking to like a real medium, like, listen, we don't trust shows either. Like, I don't know, because I'm just a human. Mm-hmm. So, I opened up a holistic wellness center in 2022, January 22. I left that business in July of last year because I saw that my work was expanding from the agency perspective, and that's just where my path was leading. I knew the entire time that I was practicing mediumship that I was never going to be the medium that sits down and does this all day, every day. It's like, I love it, and it does like power me up, but it was bigger than that for me. And it wasn't about the individual healing. Like, that is a thing, and it's amazing. And you watch people truly transform just by being able to deliver these messages. And I want to reiterate too, like, it's not the medium, like it's spirit. We're just able to have
communicate
that.
it.
Yeah, I am
have a conversation, and it's a different sort of way to do it, I suppose, but
it is
a conversation.
And there's training involved, and as far as like, managing your own energy and then having boundaries with other people's energy too. So it's a long track to really be able to do it in a well-meaning and impactful way. And at the same time, I'm like, this is not what I'm meant to do all the time. I'm meant to use my connection, my intuition, and better the world of people and communities. And communities are run by employees and employers. And so with my, career background, 15 plus years in HR. It's just naturally what I knew. I didn't realize for all of those years that I was in corporate, and then I was building small businesses, and I was building HR departments in small businesses. I had no concept of how much I was using my intuition in that process, because to me, I was like, yeah, I have experience, and yeah, I read books, and I went to school, and I have a degree, and I have 15 million certifications, and I was that person. I had every initial after my already long last name, and thought that was the way to do it. I was climbing the ladder and got married, had the kid, got the house. Like it's that's in my book too. I talk about kind of my history, my background, and my story. And I did really good. Like I am really good at what I do. And that took a long time for me to be comfortable saying it. I am really good at what I do. And it showed. And I was super successful in corporate and climbed the ladder. And then I got to where I thought was the top, and I kind of created my own position in this huge, billion-dollar company. And I, it all kind of just came crashing down on me one day, and I was 30, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I can't do that for another 35 years plus, if we're being realistic. So it was that point where I kind of had this realization, like at the question I asked, like, who the hell am I? And what do I want to do? What am I good at? Also, what am I good at that I want to do? I'm good at a lot of stuff. I don't want to fucking do that.
Now, is that what drove you to write the book? Yeah. So what is it, becoming conscious in a corporate world?
Yeah. You got it. Without losing your sanity in the subtitle.
Yeah, that was fine print.
Yeah. It's the fine print. There's always fine print with it.
It was a dead guy whispering in your ear.
It was my guides helping.
It was one of those girls that you had the audit with.
Yeah. You got your spirit auditors back there.
Still alive.
Yeah.
Whatever. Uh-oh. So is that why you wrote the book, or did you write the book before that?
I kind of was writing the book for 2 years. I'm a writer. I just love to write. And I just kept recording everything. And then I just kind of at one point was like, you know what? I think I have to write a book about this. I have enough. I hired a book coach who was absolutely amazing. Her name's Emily Maher, and I can get you her information. But she's wonderful. She was really who helped me understand the process of writing a book. And it's the first one self-published. So she kind of walked me through that process. What she did was give me the framework for all of my thoughts and ideas that were kind of scattered and all over the place. And she helped me form it into a flow. So once I had that form, I think I had 20,000 words. And at that point was really when I had okay, this is what I'm actually trying to say. This is what the book's about. So even halfway through writing the book, I didn't really know what the book was yet. And a funny thing had happened. I was at the same time writing the book, I was developing my coaching program, my spiritual leadership development program. And I had 2 screens. And on the left screen, I had my book transcript. And on the right screen, I had a thing I was typing up for how to actually provide this coaching to whoever wanted it. And I just kind of started looking back and forth like this, and I realized I was writing the same thing twice. I was like, this is the book.
Yeah. Or it's fuck, copy, paste.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
Control V, control V.
So it was
Control C.
It was definitely from a marketing perspective, the book was really just to spread the news. Hey, by the way, if you are a spiritual person who also thinks that they have some gifts, doesn't have to be mediumship, but you appreciate consciousness and energy, and maybe you have crystals on your desk, or maybe, the cardinal flew by and you're like, I wonder who that is. Those kind of, otherworldly type ideas. It's okay to be both of those people and still be a professional in the corporate world, in business, wherever you're working. And because of the world that we live in from a business perspective, so much of that is separated. I do think there's just kind of a consciousness shift happening. I know there is one, and that's changing. But there's too many people that were in that same position that I was in, where I'm at the top of the ladder and I fell off the ladder and I'm like, what the fuck do I do now? My work was my entire identity. I did not know who I was. I knew I talked to ghosts. I knew I was into emo. I knew I used to snowboard. I knew all of these concepts of things I love to do. I love to drink. I was a real big drinker at that point. I've curbed it a bit, but we
could change that. See, we could be your coach to help you change change that.
This is wonderful. Like,
This is pretty good beer, by the way.
It is good.
Yeah. Sorry, I mean,
it's from Starburst. No, I mean, I'll go off track real quick. It's fine.
When you said I'm into emo, I was thinking Elmo for some reason.
Elmo?
What the fuck is
You're
this?
like, where did this come from?
No.
This chick was weird anyway.
I was thinking the whole thing, like the whole book coach thing. I need that for I need that for my life. Like I have so many thoughts. Well, I'm okay with that piece of it. I need to. I talk very fast, and there's a lot of shit going on in my head, and I spit it out, and I'm like, I shouldn't have said that, and then this happens. And you're like,
yeah, but now you got a podcast. You created good out of it.
I know.
I'm holding back right now because I'm on the left.
You want to tickle me, Elmo? How about tickle me, Frankie?
I saw a meme the other day. It was like, Elmo's just checking in to see how everyone's doing. And somebody responded, they're like, Elmo, I'm barely hanging on by a fucking thread right now.
That's right.
Like, we don't have time for this, Elmo.
Yeah. And I know on your website you see some of these things, and I appreciate. I know Roman saw it also the candor and honesty.
Yeah.
It's not a website that you see that's corporate written with all this kind of special, everything.
That is Lindsay language all over.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, I think a lot, and we talked about this on a couple podcasts ago. The honesty. When you have conversations, people swear. Yeah. If you don't like them, I'm fucking sorry. I mean,
I guess you're not going to be a client of mine. Like, that's fine.
well, even it's okay not to swear, but I mean, people that like.
You know what's my favorite though? If I get like a buttoned up person who like is fine with me and my language, and I can ride it up and down like as I need to. I can be appropriate. I just don't like it. It's not my go-to. But my favorite thing that happens is when you do get that person who's like very professional, and then you're about like 2-3 conversations in with me, and they're like, you know what? I don't freaking care, and they think it's like I'm like we did it.
That is not where I thought you were going to go with that. Like,
no, they get like a taste of the candor and like, hey, you're allowed to have emotions and express yourself, and as long as you are like a respectful person and you appreciate the human sitting across from you, like words are words, and words are so powerful, but if you're not finding a way to communicate your emotion appropriately, like not everybody can just sit like me and understand where you're at.
Right.
So it's so important to be able to emote and connect those words appropriately. And you see it happen on the bad end way too often too, but because people see it and don't know how to like ride that wave appropriately, get nervous and scared and, I'm a corporate person and I must act a certain way. I'm like, no, just fucking be who you are.
Right.
Like, find what you're good at.
Yeah. Genuineness is. I mean, we say it all the time. Good people meet good people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like someone, you're going to deal in a certain way, but then you're going to hopefully never have to deal with that person again because you don't like them. Yeah. But it's a dance.
I have one of my best friends. She tells me that I frizzle brain people, which is like one of my favorite.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Frizzle brain. And I was like, what does that even mean? She goes, you just have this way where like if it's not your person, like they just don't even come into your like circle. She's like, they might approach you and you do this wonderful thing of like making them go away in a way that makes them feel appreciated, but also like, all right, well, I'll see you later. So she loves hanging out with me because if somebody comes up to that, what we're just not into, I'm like, oh, it's wonderful. Okay, well, okay.
You just totally frizzlebrain that fucker.
Yeah, she does. Frizzlebrain. It's going to be, we got to trademark it. Yeah, well, she's going to listen to this and be like, hey, that was mine. What the heck?
That's great. Yeah.
I give her credit.
Credit to you.
Yeah.
There you are.
We'll see if we can put that in the description.
Yeah.
Don't get frizzled.
How Lindsay frizzlebrains.
But I find that not everybody can process the same fucked upness.
Yeah.
If it's a word. That like I do. So for example, I come across certain videos on Instagram and I want to share with some friends. I'm like, all right, no, can't send it to that person.
Yeah.
You got
to customize.
Like
I fucking blocked him.
Yeah.
Oh, you blocked me.
Yeah. You sent me some weird shit, bro.
That's the NDA number 20. Yeah.
I have like a small group. I'm like, I can send these guys the most fucked up thing.
Yeah.
And they will just laugh about it.
You could probably send them to me.
We're
gonna start sending you too.
We're like other people. I'm like, if I send it to you, they'll be like, you're sick in the head.
Yeah.
And stop talking to me.
It's not your people.
I don't know who you are. Wrong number. Leave me alone.
But it's funny. Like I could get the same meme or whatever, the reel, whatever it is, from two different people. And I could think it's the funniest thing in the world from one of them because I know their heart and I know who they are as a person. And if you're another person who's doing it like out of malice or, you know, like racial reason, I'm like, ugh, like, fuck off. Like, why would you send that? It purely depends on like the person it's coming from. To
so
me.
Sometimes what I like to do is I'll come across something really funny to me and fucked up. And I would send it to people that I know probably would not get it or would be like, what the fuck?
You do a little test. You're doing some A/B testing.
I would just
Instagram
do
now.
that to be like, to get that reaction. You know, or maybe like, hey, by the way, this is what I find funny.
Yeah.
And then
show you a little bit of my personality.
I've had some people from my martial arts school that would listen to the podcast. And this girl there, she's like, that's different you than you are in class.
Well, like, yeah, there's like different levels.
She's like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't expect that. Because like some things we talk about in the podcast and, you know, it gets a dictionary and
I listened to some episodes. I was like, okay, that's probably all right.
There's some survival sperm talk and stuff like that.
I'll just frizzle brain them if it's no problem. No big deal.
Is that what you're doing?
No, this is good.
Yeah, that's deep thought process, and that's my problem. I don't have that.
Yeah,
I just do it. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it's done.
But that's who you are, right?
Yeah,
like just embrace it. Find it where it works, and it works in podcasting.
Yeah, but if you are not, like you said, if you are not malicious or you know, racist or anything like that, then it's really funny.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. Like weird. Like I'm into the history.
Give me some of your favorites.
I'm into right now. Well, I would say Nate Bargatze, but he's like top, so it's not even niche anymore. Tom Segura used to be my favorite, but I think he jumped the shark. Oh my God, what is his name? I can't think of his name right now. I just saw him when I was in Austin. I went to the Comedy Mothership, which was like huge off my bucket list. I can't even remember where he's from. He's like a foreign guy.
So you really like the non-well-known, like Dave Chappelle and stuff.
Chappelle's like the best of.
But you're talking about the people that are sort of not as well known.
Yeah, I love watching those guys, and TikTok has been freaking great for bringing those guys out and gals. Just guys like as the whole, but I love the like lore around stand-up comedy. Oh my God, when I was like 8 years old, God only knows why I was sitting in my room watching SNL when I was 8, and like I'm sure there's a little bit of autism in here too, but like I had an entire notebook that every Saturday I'd sit and write down every sketch and who was in that sketch, and I would rate all of the sketches from like 1 to 10. I kept an entire notebook for like years on just SNL, and I'm like, that's like nobody taught me that. That was just like an appreciation from as long as I can remember about humor and comedy. And it really just comes down to like finding the humor in everyday situations. I like storytellers, and one-liners are good. Yeah. Mitch Hedberg is one of my
I'm really good at one-liners.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I like Louis C.K.
Oh, Louis C.K.
and
the best.
And I like
I stuck with him through the
George Carlin.
Through the problems.
Yeah, through the problems. I'm like,
Carlin's good.
Listen, it's gross, but like he got permission. So
See, and that's a part of the comedy skill.
I'm like, he's really funny though. Who was the other one recently that I was like, man, not him too. And I was like,
not him too.
No. It wasn't even comedy. It was Zach Bryan. I was a big Zach Bryan fan. And then the whole thing happened with Brianna Chicken Fry from Barstool.
I don't know that. Zach Bryan, the guy from
country.
No, I know who he is. Yeah, so he's the young guy that's from Oklahoma, or whatever. Yeah, and he was a military guy.
Yeah.
Because he's got good music. I have his one album with Casey Musgraves, and they sing that song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But what's the story with the girl?
So
was that his girlfriend?
You know, Barstool.
Yeah.
Sports.
Yeah. Dave Portnoy
was on. Yeah, with Dave. Brianna Chicken Fry was one of the what is it? The BFF pod or whatever it's called. I literally don't even know. So she starts dating Zach Bryan, and then things get super weird. They break up like a year later, and then she basically exposes him for being like extremely abusive and a narcissist, and has, the receipts for such.
The guy looks pretty unhinged.
Well, I mean, if you listen to his songs, I'm like, this is amazing music, and usually amazing music comes with like fucked up people.
Right.
And
you make music, Ron?
Yeah. just going to start writing from the meeting.
Title 1, restraining order.
But like, look at all of them. Look at Bob Dylan. Look at Ryan Adams. Yeah.
Well, Zach Bryan's, he's a good singer. He's a good voice. It's just he's very rough looking. Like I don't know him personally.
He's not like cute. Or anything.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't saying that.
Cute?
I mean, I think he's got a nice ass, but that's about
10.
it.
1 through 10.
On his ass, 10.
I was gonna do a Dumb and Dumber quote, but
I was not. I mean, like he's just a rougher guy, but like it's. I didn't realize this story, but was that his girlfriend, and was she a cheerleader or something at one point, or?
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember.
She's got her fame. She's from Boston. She's got like some people say fake accent. I don't know. I think it's fine. But people liked her, and then they didn't like her, and then everyone sided with her when this whole thing broke. And if you were a Zach Bryan fan, it was like, you must choose. And I'm like, you have to separate the art from the artist. Mm-hmm. You have to. Yeah. And I've been saying that for a very long time, like with Louis C.K., for example. But when that whole thing happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I went on record saying that, because now I can still like Zach Bryan and say he's a complete asshole, but be like, but he's a really good songwriter. Yeah. So I appreciate art in general and poetry and kind of an irony and storytelling. And that is stand-up comedy. Like, if you're not laughing, like, what are you doing?
And you said music, you're a big music fan, which is also storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Big Janis Joplin fan, Bob Dylan. Like, though, I'm just basically like my dad. Just into my dad's music.
Just more estrogen.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I just love all that stuff.
Yeah, good.
And
that's good.
Like any chance I get to go to any seedy comedy club is my favorite. Mm-hmm. I have, my big bucket list of places I want to go, but we went to some like, I don't know, bottom of the basement place, like not much bigger than this room in Toronto. My husband's making fun of me. We're like walking up the street. I'm like, it's just up here. It's just up here. And he's like, the lights are stopping. Like something's going to happen to us. I'm like, I swear to God. And we literally go into this alleyway with like one door, open it up. There's 2 steps down, and it literally opens up to a room like not much bigger than this, maybe 30 people in there, and packed in. And the stage, like, was in there.
Yeah, that's nuts to butts with a stage and 30 people here.
And the bar was literally like smaller than this table with like 4 beers on it. And I was literally, my husband was like, wow, look at you. I was like, this is the best. Oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with me. But I also like to be really fancy. And like, I'll go to a spa all day and wear a nice robe and drink a wine. But also give me a smoke-filled, sweary, sweaty comedy club. And I'm like, this is my favorite.
But you get to experience like some newcomers. Like they'll go to some of these comedy clubs that they give them chance to
go up and try
work on their which what I like about Joe Rogan, he was talking about on his show that the Mothership, his club, he lets people go on there and try their material.
Yeah. That was really nice. That was the show I went to. It was like a bunch of people.
Louis C.K. helped him design the Mothership. The comedy club.
I don't think I knew that. Yeah.
So that's really cool. And he was like, I just did everything he told me to do, and I did it exactly how he told me to do it.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
It's in a real weird place.
He's really good. He's really talented. Like, I really enjoy his stuff. I saw him, Louis C.K. in Boston. My wife and I, we went to see, actually with Louis C.K.'s sister.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We went to see him live, and it was really good.
I've seen him 3 times now, I think. I saw him like right before the world shut down in Philly. It was March 9th in, 8 days before everything closed. And that was an amazing show. And that was before the controversy. And then I saw him again in Syracuse. It was a rescheduled show after it got canceled during COVID. There was like nobody there. It was weird. And we only found out about it by like happenstance. And I'm like, I know when comedy things are going on. I'm like, how did I literally find out about this yesterday? So we go. People still wearing masks. Like, it was 21, I think. And that was after the controversy. And he just opened up directly addressing it, obviously in a very hilarious way. He's like, this isn't fair. He's like, you all know my thing. Like, I don't know any of your things. This is lopsided. And just calling it out. And like, that's another part of those, like, it's obviously part of my value system. It's the humor. It's taking accountability. It's trying to be a good human. And like, we fuck up a lot. There's a lot of considerations in, quote, bad people. And I just, I might be too much on the other side of it and give people too much credit, but I also don't know how else to do it. Like, that's just what makes me feel good.
Comedians who talk about reality that most people hide from or don't express it, and they go on stage and they talk about it and they turn it into comedy, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And the reason everybody's laughing because we all think that same way.
Oh, yeah. And you're just like,
we don't have the stage, right? So, and that's why George Carlin was like,
oh, yeah.
For me, it was like, this dude is just talking about the reality, like just about.
And he was talking about today.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to the stuff, you're like, oh my God,
these
this
other
guy is a
people-
psychic.
Exactly.
These other people exploit their vulnerabilities, but George Carlin was just like his thoughts.
Fuck it.
He just fucking, I hope there's a lot of people agreeing with you, but if not, fuck it.
I just watched that. It's Saturday night. I think it's just called Saturday Night. And it was a movie that was almost in real time of like the 24 hours before the very first airing of the very first episode of Saturday Night Live. George Carlin was the act in that first episode.
Nice.
I forget who played him, but it was a good movie. I liked it. It was cool. It was in real time. And then they ended it right before the show actually started. I'm like, well, now I want to watch a show.
You
Like,
probably got it on your journal.
yeah. I probably did.
Do you still have that?
Right, just go back and check it.
Somewhere in the annals of my journals. That's
So,
funny.
do you want to talk about your book, promote it? Where
Sure.
people can-
It's called Becoming Conscious in a Corporate World. And like I said, it's focused on finding out who you are as an individual with intuition, when you're living with intention, when you understand this thing of energy and you really don't know what to do with it. So part one is heal. That's like you have to know who you are first before you can apply anything else. The second part of the book is all about being able to take that energy and that understanding and kind of giving yourself a cycle and a structure of how to apply it in your life. And then the third part is cultivate, which is taking all of that and now applying it to your team or your business as a leader. So that's where that consciousness starts to really wrap into business and leadership. So the book is, I wrote it in a way because I do everything very practically because I want somebody to walk away and be able to do something with it. Being a coach, I don't love the coaching industry because it's so like, oh, here's a concept that you can think about and good luck and see you later. I'm like, no, like give people something to do. So the book is filled with funny stories, serious stories. Then it has like the actual application or the design or how to move through it. And then there's also like forms and templates you can download that actually allow you to do it yourself. So that is book one. And I'm actually in the process of writing book two right now.
Oh, great.
And
don't even have a working title
What's
yet.
her name? Emily? Is it Emily who's helping?
Emily is my book coach.
She's
Yeah.
helping you?
I'll give you the.
Is she like,
I hired her again for the second one. I was like, it's time.
is she specifically in certain genres or she helps you with all kinds
She
of?
helps with all kinds. Her focus is definitely in like the spiritual, intuitive realm, and her coaching actually works through your chakras. You have like 7 main energy centers in your spiritual body. So she helps you write the book through the lens of those different energy centers, which obviously, if you're a me, you're like really into it. And it's amazing.
A me.
If you're a me. And anybody who wants to read the book like has some level of that,
Yeah.
you know. And so I would highly recommend going to her for any type of book that you might be writing. And I did. I'm now working with it for the second time. I was like, okay, I knew that one was brewing for a while. Again, didn't really know what it was going to be about. Had a few ideas, and I'm like, it's time. Like, I got to start writing again. And she really just keeps me accountable, keeps me on track. Actually, she emailed me today and was like, hey, we have a meeting tomorrow. How's it going? I was like, oh fuck.
Should have brought her on.
That was 3 weeks ago. Okay, let's call her up. I'll live stream that one tomorrow for you. It'll be me like, I didn't do shit.
Blame these guys.
Assholes.
Yeah. So
You frizzle-brained
So
us.
where can the book be purchased?
Amazon. You
Okay.
can get it right on Amazon if you search Becoming Conscious or Lindsay Mastro. You can also go to my personal website, which is lindsaymastro.com. And then you can also find me and our HR services at conscioushr.co. And we do a lot of stuff on Instagram too, conscioushr.co, and the Lindsay Mastro also on Instagram.
And your office is out of Syracuse?
Yep.
And
Looking for
Are you-
anyone currently.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Looking for space?
Yeah, some new space, expand a little
That's
bit.
good.
I'm in a one-room office right now, which I love. And I fucked up a little bit. It was supposed to be like temporary, and I made it super cozy, and now I like never want to leave. But I'm looking to hire, probably a couple more people by the end of the year, and just having more of like a physical footprint, both here and in Watertown. Actually, it's like our second home.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking for a larger space in Syracuse, and excited to get that going.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I'll also add that we are rolling out Disrupt State, which is kind of a second organization that's more specifically focused on leadership development and helping people who are the HR hat wearer more from a development perspective. And we'll be hosting Disrupt HR here in Syracuse, probably in November. We don't have a final date yet, and in Watertown on September 25th. It's the Disrupt HR talks. They're really cool.
Great.
They're like rapid fire and all about disrupting the industry, which is obviously
That's good information. Yeah. There's so many people opening their own businesses. They're going into that avenue. People find that niche that they really enjoy, they love doing, and it's important. You got to love your job.
Yeah,
right.
You have to. Like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then I think they're all leaning towards just opening their own businesses, and that'll be great information.
Yeah, love to talk to any of them.
All right, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you both.
And I hope you want to come back at some point.
You're always welcome.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
As long as you keep feeding me beers, I'll be back.
Let's do it.
There's no end to that.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.